Since we're talking about dogs, can you do me a favor and can you just bark for me?
Can I bark in Polish?
Yes, that's allowed.
Okay, cool. How?
Welcome to Class Act Chats, where I interview a fellow cat behavior expert on cat behavior, cat training, and sometimes we talk about dogs. Today's guest is Joanna Wachowiak-Finlaison. Jo is a certified cat behavior consultant and a professional dog trainer. We talk about cats and dogs and introducing cats to dogs and how to keep everyone involved safe and happy. Let's hear what she has to say. Jo, welcome. Welcome to my living room. Prozac is here supervising, so just so you know, he's gonna keep tabs on us as we talk today.
Kept in check, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this is an important topic, and if you say anything that's too off, Prozac will let you know.
It's very sad. It's like, is that Prozac going to hiss at me if I'm wrong?
He probably won't hiss at you, but he has this very sweet, cute meow that he'll let you know that he's disappointed.
Okay, I thought that he was going to, like, in typical cat, way, he's just going to give me this completely passive-aggressive look, like contempt.
He might, or he might look really alert and be like, what did she just say?
Did that sound like a fire alarm?
We're here to talk about not linguistics and not fire alarms. We're here to talk about cats and dogs. And, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Why don't you introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are? Because as I tell every guest I have, I know who you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I don't just randomly invite people. Who are you? Why should people trust you? Why are you trustworthy on this specific topic?
That's a great question. So I'm Joanna Wachowiak-Finlaison. I am currently based in Houston, Texas, and I work with both cats and dogs. My business is called High Five Animal Training, and you can see there's a dog and a cat.
Are they actually high-fiving?
They are high-fiving. Well, a friend made it for me.
I would be really disappointed if your business was named High Five Animal Training and you had two animals and they were not high-fiving. I would probably disown you as a friend.
I am a dog person. I'm a cat person turned into a dog person. I started with cats, where cats were my chosen animal, and then I started volunteering at a shelter, and then I got a dog from the shelter, because that's what happens when you volunteer at the shelter. You end up with an animal, and so I started being more interested in dog behavior too. I am a certified cat behavior consultant through International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. I always have to go and remember all the letters of the acronyms.
I never get it right. I'm always IWQTXP, and it's like that. No, that's very wrong.
I have multiple certifications in dog training. I'm Karen Pryor certified training partner. I am Control and Leash certified instructor. A certified professional dog trainer through. There is an alphabet soup after my name.
We could just keep listing your certifications for an hour and a half.
Pretty much. So I'll stop now. I work with dogs and I work with cats. I am, a lot of times when we talking or when people get into dog to cat introductions, they will get a dog trainer, and a dog trainer will work with the dog. But very often dog trainers don't really think about the cat side and just treat the cat as a distraction. And I've actually had someone use that word when I was presenting at the PPG conference a couple of years ago, when I was presenting on the cat dog introductions, and they were like, great, so you're going to tell us how to work with a dog around the distraction of a cat. And I'm like, no,
the cat matters too.
The cat is also an animal, and the cat also deserves the attention, right? So this is kind of that is maybe a little bit of my pet peeve. I know where it comes from. It just comes from the fact that a lot of dog trainers are not cat trainers, or are not cat behavior specialists. But I just want to make sure that we don't, whenever I work with kind of cat dog or dog cat situations, I make sure that we pay equal attention to both animal species.
Yeah, they both matter. It's not the well-being of one is more important than the other. It's both of them are important.
Exactly. The successful introduction or the successful coexistence is not just if the dog is not chasing the cat, but also the cat when the cat feels comfortable and safe in the house, right? So obviously, like, dog not chasing the cat is a kind of big plus, but it's not the only thing that we are striving for.
And also, for that matter, that the dog is comfortable too, because I've had a few cat on dog aggression cases that have been the poor dog. I just feel like terrible for the dogs. The dog will be like huge, and this tiny kitten will be like, and the dog will be like, oh my god, I'm terrified. That's no way to live for the dog. It's awful.
There are so many videos on the internet that kind of show that, and it's like a funny thing. Being an animal behavior expert-ish.
You're an expert. Like, don't downplay your expertise.
Ruins so many videos for you. Yeah. Like, people will go, oh, look how funny. I'm like, look at how cute. And I'm like, a stress signal, stress signal, stress signal, stress signal, about to bite.
I am such a wet blanket when people send me cat videos. I usually just say something like, wow, that cat looks really stressed. And people just stop sending them to me after a while because they realize that I'm going to point out all the not so fun things and how the cat is suffering and we shouldn't laugh at that. And I'm like, wow, that looks really mean.
I know. Horrible. So, do you get a lot of dog-cat aggression cases?
I focus mostly on the cat side of things, where it's clearly the cat. I don't want to say the cat is the problem because they're just expressing fear or stress or whatever. But for colloquially, we use the term the problem. So I'm just going to use that term. But I just want to be very clear. The cat isn't doing anything wrong. Hello, Prozac. Hello. Hello.
Oh, hi!
He's getting up because he heard me almost call cats the problem, which is never the case, Prozac. Cats are never the problem. Anyway, I get every once in a while, I'll get one where it's cat is distressed by the dog and the dog is not having a good time. And that, or like the cat is afraid of the dog. I'll get that. And the dog is clearly just like hanging out, like not aggressing, not barking. The dog is like silent and is the sweetest little snuggle bug. But the cat is like, I'm terrified of you. So I get a decent amount of those, probably one a month usually.
Yeah, I think people very often forget that kind of out in the wild. And when I'm saying, whenever I say out in the wild, when I'm doing consults, and all my cat consults are virtual, I kind of point to the back because that way is an alley behind my house where the cats live.
So, not your closet?
Well, behind the closet, behind the bathroom, behind the bedroom, and another bathroom. And the backyard, there's an alley in that direction. So cats in the wild are the cats out in the alley, right? For me. People often forget that the cats in the wild and dogs have basically, for a cat that lives on a street, a dog is a predator. And kind of evolutionarily, dogs are a predator for the cat. So we are putting together in the house a predator and its prey, and we are expecting them to be friends. And I know that we bred out of dogs and they don't really they're not really real dogs. Sorry, they are real dogs, but you know, the cats are still so close genetically to their ancestors, and the dogs are not. But still, I think there is still, so for the cats, there's this thing that can eat me. So it's a completely understandable reaction. Like the aggression is, I mean, the aggressive behaviors. I like to say aggressive behaviors, not aggression.
I'm trying to get used to doing that too. It's hard because I try and meet people where they're at with their language, but I'm trying to focus on being a little bit more accurate because there's no cats that are aggressive per se. It's more they have aggressive behaviors in certain situations.
Showing aggressive behaviors, or they're displaying aggressive behaviors because they're just being proactively defensive.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It makes total sense. Which kind of is why it's so miraculous when you do get to a dog and a cat and they just like, I love you and we are living together. And this is, I think we should kind of stop expecting it as a norm though. It's just a miracle. It's a glitch in the universe. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. Maybe it's because, I don't know if you have the same thing, but I keep with the more experience I have with different cases, not just cat dog, like dog people. I always expect the worst. So I don't know, there's a certain doom and gloom in it, maybe in my viewpoint, but we should definitely kind of start from the point of we're going to have problems, or we're going to have to do it slowly so we don't have problems, and not just throw the animals together in one space and say, hey, now you all live here.
Yeah.
Surprise! Here's your big brother puppy.
That's a good expectation, because I think a lot of people still just expect that the animals are going to get along, or I don't know if you hear this a lot because you work with more dogs than I do, but I hear a lot of people who are like, oh, my dog is so sweet, like, why is the cat afraid of them? And, well, the cat is instinctually terrified because the dog could kill them if they met the dog out on the savannah or your alley, specifically your alley. It's a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous place. It makes sense from the cat's perspective, even if the dog is sweet towards the human. Yeah. And same goes with the cat. If the cat is aggressing towards the dog, cat may be sweet to you, but the cat is scared and the cat is going to defend themselves.
Yeah, and I think the other thing there is there is a little bit of like things are lost in translation, like the body language or the way dogs and cats communicate, right? And the dog who is kind of being playful and doing the play bows in front of a cat, the cat's like, whoa, that's way too much, right? Especially when we are introducing a puppy to a cat, a puppy who's like very gregarious and wants to play, and he's got like, there is absolutely no mean intention behind what they're doing, but hey, I want to play, I want to chase you, I'm going to play bow to you, may play a little rough. And maybe if you have like a super gregarious kitten, or what I call kittens. Kittens are a very specific age category in my book.
I know exactly what to... Yeah.
Those kind of cats that are adolescent, maybe from like 6 months forward, specifically male or mostly male, and they just have this abundance of energy too, right? And they are like, give me all the enrichment. If you have one of those kittens and you have a puppy, then you might be fine. What I'm also touching upon here very briefly on in a very roundabout way is match your energies of your animals. Don't get a puppy when you have a 12-year-old cat who just wants to sleep and be left alone.
Don't get a kitten when you have a 12-year-old cat.
Don't get a kitten when you have a 12-year-old cat, that neither, right? Get a kitten when you have a 12-year-old dog. Whichever way you look at it, your chances at having painless, successful introduction are much better when you have animals whose energy kind of matches, right? It's like with humans. You have to have a little bit of a match in energies to be simpatico, right?
Yeah.
I always tell people, if someone just moved in a 20-year-old dude who wanted to just go partying and stuff into my house, I'd be like, no, out.
Yeah, you'd be like, go away.
Oh, I might start hissing.
I probably would hiss. Honestly, like half the time I just go into doing what cats do. I'm like, it works. Like, people might think I'm just absolutely out of it, but it's functional. It gets me what I want.
Have you tried marking?
No, I haven't. I might have to try that next. I'll add that to my list of things to deter humans.
It's an escalation,
It may also result in jail time, so maybe I should just be careful. I might have to try growling first.
Go your aggression ladder and start from the bottom.
I have a question that's on topic but slightly off topic, because you work with both cats and dogs. Which do you think is more challenging for people, kittens or puppies? Because I find a lot of people think that kittens are going to be easy, and then boy are they surprised when the kitten has a lot of needs.
I think that younger puppies are harder than younger kittens, because younger puppies come with the whole lot of you have to house train them. There is a lot of cute factor, but there is a lot of kind of hands-on management and training factor with young puppies. While with kittens, it's especially younger kittens, here's the litter box. Sure, great, I'm gonna use it, and that's it, right? I've never had to do anything but get kittens in the proximity of the litter box after a meal. Never inside the litter box, but the proximity of the litter box after a meal, and then they were like, oh yeah, I know what to do with this place.
They kind of just they're like self-cleaning ovens.
Yeah. This is pretty instinctual, but with puppies, you really have to be on the schedule. You have to be really consistent, because if you are not consistent, then it's going to take longer. Puppies are way more hands-on when they are kind of younger. But I think the kittens, kind of like the kittens age, require more management and enrichment and training and being hands-on, kind of playing and stuff, than people realize. I'm not going to say that they require more than puppies that age, but with puppies that age, most people will have already taken them for like some training, maybe a daycare or something. They go for walks, they do things, kind of they expect those things that they have to do those things. And with kittens, sometimes with those kind of young adolescent kittens or even young adult kittens, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, people are surprised that they have to do things for them and with them, right? So I don't think that one or the other is easier or not. It's kind of like the expectations are different that we have.
I agree. I think there's a lot of people who their expectations and the reality of kittens is off, and people expect puppies to be a lot of work, and kittens they think are an easy alternative to
And when they are small, if you get them when it's kind of first safe to get kittens, right? They are this tiny little cuddly thing, and that maybe are biting your ankles for attention, but not speaking from a personal experience at all. No, that would never happen to a cat behavior consultant. We know
all of her cats are perfect. I mean, look at Prozac.
Yes, perfect. Oh, because kittens, when you get them, these little kittens, that's what I was saying. They're so cute. They're so cute and they're so sweet, and you do play with them a little bit and they fall asleep and they sleep most of the day. And then you say, oh, I've had this perfect little kitten who was so sweet, and now this perfect little kitten turns into a little devil or were-devil that's kind of just running around your house, right? It's definitely kind of expectations, and I blame media. I blame social media. I in particular, I blame Disney for showing us all those perfect animals. And let's get back, dogs and cats.
Yes, back to dogs and cats. Sorry, I just had to ask though.
But I think that was a good question, because definitely there's a lot of people, and to be honest with you, when I first got my first cat many years ago, I got a cat because I was like, oh, it's a cat. I don't have to, can be left alone at home, don't have to worry.
Whatever.
Right? So this is kind of, I think that we are being a little bit more conscious about the fact that this is not it anymore. There is a lot more education about cats and cat behavior, and that we should be doing things with cats, and that it's not that the cats cannot be trained, it's just that cats have never been trained, so people thought that they cannot be trained because you never got it. Cats are in fact easier to train than dogs.
Hot take, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just easier to train cats. It's always been like, oh my god, training, this is so great.
They're so good at patterns.
They're so good at patterns, but I love training cats' agility. It's one thing that I trained some cats in the shelter, and I've done that as a part of the behavior modification for some kind of over-excited, over-exuberant cats. And I'm like cats are built for this. I don't know why we're making poor dogs do agility. They're not built for it.
Cats are built to be more of the acrobats and the leaping and running really fast and climbing things.
All the tricks and things. We should be doing more trick cats.
Do you feel like when there's a conflict between a cat and a dog, who starts it? Who is it? Is it the cat or the dog typically?
Cricket silence. I don't think that there is typically, because there is no answer to this question. It depends, right? I mean, every case is different. I don't think that there is a typically. And also, what do you mean by start? Is a puppy who is play bowing in front of a cat who doesn't want to play, where the puppy starting it, or is the cat who is replying to those advances by hissing starting it? And I also don't think that there is a lot of value in trying to find blame and assign blame, or even in a case if I see a case and I see behaviors and I know who's behaving which way, it is helpful to know what happens, right, before. So it's helpful to know the context, and it's helpful to know antecedents to the behavior, which is antecedent is basically all the things that happen before the behavior happens. Because then we can modify that in a way. Because a puppy who is playful and wants to play with a cat who is responding by hissing is not doing anything wrong, right? So the puppy is not really a problem. The cat is not a problem. In this situation, nobody's displaying a behavior problem, right? Or what we would call, the fancy word would be the maladaptive behavior, right?
Just behaving like we would expect.
Yeah, they are doing what a cat would do, if a cat that feels threatened would do, if the puppy is doing what a puppy would do. See, this is kind of where the aversive-based or punishment-based training comes in, like, as a problem, where it doesn't help. Because if we want to punish something, if we want to punish one of the animals, we're punishing them for natural behaviors. They're not doing anything wrong. So it helps then to know that, if the puppy is trying to play with the cat, let's give the puppy alternative ways of playing and maybe exercising with other dogs, with other puppies. And so by the time he gets around and being around the cat, he's like, all his needs have been fulfilled, right? So his need to play, his need to be social in that rambunctious way has already been fulfilled in an appropriate way. Then the cat doesn't feel threatened, and so the cat's not going to be displaying those hissing, aggressive, kind of distance creating behaviors. And then we can work with the cat and say, hey, look, when Puppy's here, Puppy's nice and quiet and calm because we've already fulfilled all Puppy's needs, and maybe we've also trained the puppy to be nice and calm and maybe lying down in the room or in the presence of the cat, and we can work with the cat and we say, hey, see, when Puppy's here, he's fine, he's safe, he's not going to get to you. We might put a barrier so we can just make sure, but good things also happen to you. We can do our little training, or you get special treat. Let's not forget about the cat, right? But we need to make sure that the cat also feels good about the puppy.
I see a lot of people who suggest that during this process, you put the cat in a carrier and let the puppy come and just... My reaction every time I hear that. So, not that I'm like, this is a leading question like my last one, where I was hoping that you would say that there's not a typical case. But Joe, what are your thoughts on putting a cat in a carrier and letting the dog or puppy just sniff them?
What are your thoughts about being put in a cage and put in the ocean with sharks without your consent?
Some people pay to do that, so...
Yeah, which is fine because you consented to it. It's all about feeling safe. It's not about being safe, it's about feeling safe. Being safe and feeling safe are two completely different things. Because a cat in a carrier might be safe, but I will bet my favorite camera that your cat is not feeling safe being in a carrier. It's similar with putting maybe a dog in a crate. The animals do best when they are given a choice, when they feel like they can walk away from the situation, when they have the option of walking away from a situation. And in fact, we have to teach them to walk away from the situation, right? It's a very important lesson, which is what we do with pattern games, right? We use the pattern games with a lot in cat-to-cat intros, you and I and a bunch of other cat consultants we know, because this is one of the hardest things for animals to do is to walk away from the situation.
Yep.
There is also a technique that I use with stranger danger dogs when I toss the treats away, toss the treat behind the dog so the dog walks away and runs away and to access the treat instead of coming to you, right? And this is also very helpful for shy animals, even shy cats.
I do this with cats. Yeah, it's the same thing where I'm toss it past the cat.
Past the cat, because it gives them the time it teaches them to turn around, to turn away from the threat that can be a human or a dog or a cat. It also engages the seeking system. We're not going to go deep into that because its seeking system is a little bit above my head. If a dog or a cat is in a crate, they don't have that option, right? They don't have that choice to walk away. You put a cat in a carrier and the puppy goes and investigates and sniffs around and puts the nose right next to the carrier. One, it's pretty dangerous for a puppy because if a cat feels threatened and trapped, right? Yeah, the claws can come out. It's maybe not talked enough, but cat injuries can be pretty serious, especially when it comes to puppies. Swiping across the nose, it's super painful. It can get infected. The way cat claws are shaped, they drive bacteria deep. They make those punctures that are very kind of deep and narrow. But for people who might not know, a cat claw goes in, bacteria.
It's perfect breeding ground for anaerobic bacteria.
Yeah, heals first, bacteria stays in, festers, blah. We've got an abscess.
Then it crawls up to your brain and you end up with encephalitis, or the puppy ends up with, or yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
It can be bad and painful, and you can end up with an abscess. Or, if you're lucky, because if you're unlucky, then that claw went across the dog's eye, and you've got an even bigger issue. And we're not even talking about kind of all the emotional issues or kind of emotional downfall of this for both the dog and the cat. Imagine your first meeting. But even if the cat doesn't reply with kind of aggressive behavior, it's just very, very scary when you can't walk away, right? In a scary situation, you have your fight or flight and plenty other modes. But if you take away the flight mode, that gets really, really, really scary. I've had a lot of those discussions with dog trainers who do that and put cats in the crate. They're like, but cat is safe. And I'm like, don't care.
You're going to be exacerbating the cat's fear response.
If you want to do a crate, no crate is created equal, right? If you have a kitten in a crate that is the size
Huge.
of half of this room is the size for Great Pyrenees, right? And if you set up the crate with a place where the cat can go and hide, where they can walk away, where there is an option of kind of being somewhere where the dog cannot get to them, then that might be an option if you cannot set it up with different room. You also would have to make sure that kitten is used to that crate, but it's a safe place, that it's just being put in that crate is not stress. Because that's the problem with using carriers for introducing cats and dogs. For most cats, the carrier is already a traumatic place, a traumatic experience, because most of them are not trained for the carrier. For most cats, the only crate experience they get kind of is going to the vet. So you putting a cat, you're starting with already a stressful experience of grabbing a cat, probably chasing it around the room, because that's what happens, right? Stuffing it in a crate. Usually, I don't know, legs down, head down, scruffed, whatever. And then there's a dog. Then there is this scary monster that smells funny, sounds funny, does funny things, gets close, got big teeth. I don't know. I feel traumatized right now.
Yeah, I know. I don't like thinking about it. I can't imagine how terrified the cats are. And another thing to think about too is if the cat already has a negative experience with the carrier and they think that it's not a good place, and then you put them in there and they're now terrified because there's this dog sniffing around, you're gonna have an even harder time getting them in the carrier next time you need to take them to the vet, or next time you need to, evacuate your apartment because there's a fire alarm going off, or whatever the case may be. It's gonna create more work in other situations. So it double doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't benefit the cat or the dog.
Absolutely. The one thing that I will say is every time we're doing kind of dog cat intros, and maybe not with puppies, I feel like maybe with puppies it can be a little bit more lax, but I always suggest 2 layers of safety. And this is actually every time whenever I work with animals that kind of when we have a little bit of a risky behavior, 2 layers of safety, because your 1 layer of safety can fail. So 2 layers of safety. Even if I have a baby gate, I will probably see if I can have my dog on a leash. A loose leash, a leash that is not tight, and I'm not controlling the dog with the leash. I'm not driving the dog with the leash. My pet peeve, the number of people who use the leash as a way to drive it. Completely different conversation.
I have opinions, and I think we agree.
But in case, 1, cats are liquid, they can get through the baby gate. 2, dogs might slam into the baby gate and might open. We want to have that kind of second layer of safety that we can, and it's easier to put, let's be honest, it is easier to put that second layer of safety on the dog than the cat. Unless you do have a cat who is big and can be rambunctious and you've harness trained them, and you can put it kind of harness and leash on them without them feeling uncomfortable.
And remember that them like not moving isn't a sign of them being comfortable. It may be that they're frozen and they're not enjoying that experience. So don't take the cat being still as being oh, they love their harness. I have to explain that to people a lot, where the cat is not actually having a good time. They're standing there just not moving, and it's because they don't like it.
Yeah. A lot of cats will just flop. Any piece of equipment we're using, whether we're using it on the animal or around the animal, it needs to be stress-free. So it needs to have been introduced earlier. Whether it's a crate, a baby gate maybe might be the least, but like safe room, crate, leash, harness on a cat or dog. I don't think that people think about it enough, but we need to introduce the equipment first. So the equipment itself is not aversive, it's not stressful, it's not creating stress already.
If someone's thinking about they have a cat and they're considering getting a dog, or they have a dog and they're considering getting a cat, they should start working on some of these things prior to the new animal coming into the home, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And you also should have a look around your house and prep your house for your new animal. So if you have a resident cat and you're thinking about getting a dog, dogs are annoying, but dogs most of the time will stay on the ground, on the floor. So when the cat wants to get away, want to give them the option of getting away somewhere high and inaccessible for the dog. So have a look around your house, have a look around your environment. Can I add more high spaces? Where can I add more high spaces? Both cats and dogs will want to hang around in the same space as the humans. So have a look around the space where you are spending most of your time. Do I have enough places where my cat's going to feel safe, where my puppy's going to feel safe? How can they be here, together? I also highly recommend, even if we have harmony between cats and dogs in the house, I highly recommend, if you are able and if you have enough space, creating some sort of cat-only space. It can be a bedroom, it can be a bathroom. I love this little product that you can buy on Amazon called Door Buddy. And It's just a little strap that you put kind of on your door frame on one side. There's you put a little hook on the door frame and a little strap on the door, and you just kind of hook it, and there's a door stop, so you leave a little gap in the door. You leave a little gap in the door so the cat can go in, but most of the dogs won't be able to go through. And this is where I recommend putting litter box, so the dog doesn't have access to the litter box, because we know
doesn't have like a snack.
Really love litter box Tootsie Rolls. It's not really good for them to eat.
No, ew. And then they lick you, and it's like...
Do you know what? I actually, the part that gives me the most ick or the most issue about eating Tootsie Rolls out of the litter box is the dog eating litter, especially when it's the clay thing. I'm like, that can't be good.
I suppose if they use a grass seed based litter or something, it's still not great, but it's
still not great, but it's a little bit better. It's really good to create that kind of space where the cat can feel safe and where they know that the dog wants access. We want to stay consistent, right? When we work with animals in general, we want to stay consistent. We want to be predictable. We want their world to be predictable. If we create the safe room, dog stays out of it 100% or 99.5%, because let's say we will fail. We don't want it to be a situation where dog goes in there once a month or something. We want it to be the safe place where if the cat even likes the dog, but they maybe had enough, it's been too much, especially with the puppy, they know that there is this place where they can go and they're not going to be bothered.
On the topic of litter boxes and dogs, I hear a lot of people who have litter box issues, and they have a dog and they have either a top entry box, or now they're making boxes that are elevated that the dog, I guess technically the dog could jump up there, but theoretically they wouldn't be able to get up there. What are your thoughts on those types of boxes? Because to me, it sounds like there's a better solution, and it's the Door Buddy or some other way of putting the litter box in a room that the cat can get to, but the dog can't. Do you see problems with those other styles of litter boxes?
Very leading question, Joey. Yes, I do. It's not like you don't know what my thinking is. And
It's not like I don't know what your thoughts on this topic are.
Do you remember, because you sent me a picture from a PPG presentation on dog and cat interest.
For people who are not sure what I'm talking about, Joe was like, I need a litter box picture that's like a bad setup. And I think I turned my litter box facing the wall, and there was a couple of inches of space, and it was covered. And
because I was trying to recreate a real life scenario that I've encountered in one of my cases, and it was a case where I was this happens very often. I was hired to work with the dog, and as I was finishing my dog consultation, so there was also a cat in the house, and he came down. We had cuddles, and very, very cute, gregarious guy. But as I was finishing the consultation, I was kind of nearly out of the door. The clients were like, oh, but also, while you're here, our cat is urinating on the bath mat. And I was like, oh, okay, well, can you show me? Can you take me? So sometimes, I do cat consults virtually, but sometimes it helps if I'm in a private place, because I can just go and see it. And this was exactly the setup, the litter box setup that you described. It was, I'm going to use my box of tissues. So this is the entrance. The entryway was 2 or 3 inches away from the wall, because the new puppy was snacking. This was their solution. And so the cat, who was a pretty big chunky cat, could not get there comfortably. So he resorted to using the bath mat that was right next to the litter box. And that was the problem for the clients. And I was like, well, how is he supposed to get it? We ended up moving that litter box, taking off the cover, obviously, but we ended up moving that litter box to a utility room where they put one of a baby gate. You can buy baby gates. So if you don't want to get door buddy, you can also buy baby gates that have a little cat door in it, so the dog can go through, but the cat can. Problem solved. And even though we moved, it was a much bigger move for a litter box than I would typically advise, because we moved the litter box from upstairs to downstairs and to a completely different area of the house. And the cat adjusted really well. And it was like, well, finally I can go to the litter box easily. Yeah, hallelujah. And without the dogs, even though the dogs couldn't get into the litter box, the puppy, who was looking for those little snacks that fall out of the cat's bum, was still kind of hanging around here, right? And waiting. And so, how comfortable that is when you're peeing.
Yeah, that was very uncomfortable, I'm sure.
It was just one of those things when, you just change one thing and the problem is solved.
Bam.
It's miracle! Magic wand!
If only everything were that easy.
I know. Oh, but I did have a case. I had a miniature pinscher. Well, not that small, but, small. A small dog. Little dog. Move in into a house with 3 Maine Coons.
Huge cat's teeny dog.
Huge cat's teeny dog. Well, we solved that by putting a little barrier, so the cat dog couldn't jump, the cats could jump. For a while I was like, oh, how do I solve this? Because we think about dog is bigger, cats are smaller, this is how I do. I do smaller entrance for the cats, bigger entrance so to stop the bigger dog. And in this case it was like, oopsie.
There goes that idea.
The other thing that we could use is we probably could use an elevated litter box, a litter box on an elevated surface. These cats were young and agile. I'd probably be much more hesitant with cats that are senior and can't jump as easily. In both cases, we can think about placing the litter box on an elevated surface. As long as it's open, and as long as your cats are healthy and agile and can get on that elevated surface and your dog cannot, it might be an option. But I would always kind of advise that you monitor it. The first sign of the cat not using the litter box, they're telling you that this is not a good setup for them.
I want to shift gears a little bit here.
Yeah.
What are some signs that may get along well with cats, or cats may get along well with dogs? Is there anything that people can look for?
I wish. I think, in general, if you have a dog that has lived with cats before, if you have a dog who is, in general, very chill, with very low prey drive, who historically enjoys other animals, you have much better chances. Having said that, my dog has lived with 3 cats peacefully, and kind of with 2 she coexisted. With 1 she was pretty much friends, because also the cat was like super chill, and he was like whatever. He was your typical alley cat. He was just like, he had swagger. But when I brought in kittens to foster, because they were kittens and not adult cats, her prey drive turned on, and she just wanted to eat them.
Which is how I feel about pizzas. If there were to be like, a sentient pizza running around, I would be like, yeah, I want to eat you.
Yeah, I mean, it was just her, like, she's got a very high prey drive. She has killed small furry animals before, rats and whatnot. It was during the pandemic, so those kittens had to stay with me. Like, there was no option. I had triple safety barriers for that, because 1, kittens are liquid. Kittens don't have self-preservation. Kittens, in fact, I think that kittens have a death wish.
I'm surprised that, like, cats as a species have survived, because kittens are so bad at keeping themselves alive.
No, kittens are horrible at keeping themselves alive. I have a video of, like, my dog just basically just barking and losing her little through the window, and the kitten is just sitting there and going like, hi. See, kind of a dog that lived with cats, but yet she was not safe around kittens. So maybe that's another thing to remember, that an adult cat is not a kitten, or a kitten is not an adult cat, a puppy is not an adult dog. They look different, they behave different. I could probably introduce my dog to an adult cat, but the kittens were just not safe. And they were triggering that kind of total predatory mode.
Well, or even like thinking of like Prozac and Poutine, an adult cat is not necessarily the same as another adult cat.
Yeah.
Poutine would maybe would be okay with dogs, but Prozac is, well, I don't know. Prozac can hold his own sometimes.
Sometimes it's also like how the cat reacts, right? Because if the cat reacts by running away, that may trigger a predatory drift in dog, and dog starts chasing the cat. Whereas the cat that was like, okay, whatever, has like the same kind of swagger as my BK had. Loved people, loved everything. He hated other cats because he was just like, he was the dude on the block. He would not run away from a dog, right? He would not start that kind of chase sequence. Long story short, I don't think there is a rule. I don't think that there is necessarily a way to 100% predict when the dog is going to be safe for the cat. There is an easy way to predict when the dog is not going to be safe for any cat, because if you do have a dog that does have high prey drive, that has a poor bite inhibition, that you saw chasing a cat before, that's probably not a good option. And if at any point, kind of when you are introducing dogs and cats, if you see predatory type behaviors in a dog, this is the time when I would say that's not going to work. Because predation is just an innate thing that's like really hard to train out. And I don't think that you can ever be 100% confident your dog with a high predatory instinct is going to be safe around the cat.
No, I had a client that they adopted a dog, and they had hired a trainer that came recommended by Rescue, and the trainer was using a shock collar on the dog, and the dog was not inhibited. The dog was like, I want to get to the cat. It was a bad situation, and I forget who it was, but it was not the dog trainer, someone else. It was either me or the rescue, I think, was finally like, I'd recommend rehoming the dog. The dog is a lovely dog, but would just fit better in a different home.
It's a lovely dog, just not a dog for that family and for that household.
Are there certain breeds of dog? Obviously, as we've established, every dog is an individual, but are there certain breeds that tend to be worse than others for being around cats, or ones that are known for being slightly better? Obviously, still need to do your due diligence with the individual dog.
You know how certain dog breeds have been bred for certain to highlight certain parts of the hunting sequence. You would think that maybe the dogs that have been bred to bite, right, for that last, for the predation, for hunting, but not all hunting dogs, obviously.
Hashtag not all dogs.
I have a friend with a greyhound, and a cat adopted her, and they It was one of those things, just the universal distribution system happened. Well, the cat is emotional support cat for the greyhound. But when people think about breeds of a dog that might not be safe around the cat, greyhounds come, those type of dogs that are hunting dogs that do have that kind of chase and prey. So I really have an issue. Like, I don't want to say one way or another, these breeds are not safe, these breeds are safe. You would think that, I don't know, that maybe like golden retrievers or something, breeds that are kind of bred to have this kind of soft mouth touch.
Yeah, but there's still the possibility.
With the soft mouth, some cats might not appreciate being picked up in the mouth, right? But also they are, once again, they are individuals. The dog breeding being in the US what it is, the mess it is, it's just absolutely an individual thing. I would probably say that it's probably easier to get a dog and a cat to get along with each other when they are younger. And we are socializing the cat to a dog and dog to a cat, and this is kind of what they know. But if your cat has never seen a dog in their life, this is going to be a very scary experience for them to suddenly see one in their own house, in their own territory. If your dog has never seen a cat in their life, or dog's only seen cats on the walks and chased them, or that might be, again, you know, when I'm saying like young, and I'm not saying like a puppy, but even like young dogs, like
fresh out of the womb.
Yes, fresh out of the womb.
That's the only option.
Put them together. Like, put them like kittens, puppies together.
Yeah, just have the cat and the dog like birth next to each other. That's the only way you can get them to get along. Do you have any tips for like the introduction process? You've already shared some of them throughout our conversation, but do you have anything that people can do to really help enhance that or increase the chances of it being successful?
Thank you for trying to make me be a little bit more coherent.
Hey, it's why I'm here.
Yes, this is what I expect from you, Joe. Let me just cover a few things that I've already mentioned. So safety, once again, highlighting the point that feeling safe and being safe is not the same thing. So safety, 2 layers of safety. Remember, kittens are liquid. You will think that they cannot get through something. They can get through something.
They can teleport.
Don't presume. Don't make assumptions. Go slow. Slower is better. And go the pace of the animal that is more intimidated, scared, anxious. But when you think you want to take the next step, because maybe your puppy is not chasing after the cat anymore, but your cat is still hissing, you don't go to the next step. So the slowest animal drives, the more anxious, more stressed animal drives the pace of your introductions. Don't forget your cat. Don't forget about your cats and your cat's needs. Make sure that if you are working with a puppy, if it's a puppy that you're introducing, the puppies, in fact, make sure that before you do anything about introductions, make sure that all the needs, the basic needs for both the dog and the cat are met. These are foundations. We cannot build training and solid training on top of foundations that are shaky. This is something that happens a lot in my consults. I spend a lot of time on the pillars of feline wellness and like basics of kind of meeting all the needs, medical and enrichment, and all the needs for the dogs. And I think like sometimes that people might be a little bit frustrated because I'm not going to straight into the point of what their pain point is, but if those needs are not fulfilled, they're not met, then nothing we're doing is going to be really working.
Sometimes you need to do some foundational things, because I get the same thing where people will be frustrated when I do cat intros.
So think bigger, right? Think big picture. And it's super hard because even when I work with my dog, I don't see the big picture. I'm the owner when I work with my dog. I'm like, here's my pain point. My issue is I need to trim my dog's nails, and my instinct and what I want to do, even as a trainer who should know better, is I go straight for the paw with clippers, right? Or, version of it. I didn't do that, actually.
I am the worst at not reinforcing behaviors that I don't want, because I talk to my cats constantly and I'll sing to them, or I will tell people to do it and they'll be very successful with it, but then they'll end up with an extinction burst and I reinforce during that. I'll be like, Prozac, stop. Or like Prozac whenever he's being, and I'm going to use this term, I don't actually think he's naughty because cats don't have a sense of morality, but he's being, quote, naughty. I'll be like, oh, Prozac, you sweet boy. We don't always follow our own advice sometimes.
But what I want to say also is, if we as trainers, if we as professionals, as behavior professionals, if we can get ourselves fixated on an issue and don't see a bigger picture, then I don't blame the owners. So what I do is I turn to other trainers, right? Because I've worked with other trainers. I've worked with Laura Monaco Torelli with my dog, but I also just go and talk to my peers and say, hey, can you look at it for me at this thing that's happening with my dog? And because they have the outside perspective, they are much better at it. What I'm getting at is, if you don't know as an owner, if you I don't know where to start, hire a professional. And can I also say one thing? Behavior, don't ask your veterinarian for behavior advice, because their main expertise lies somewhere else. That's not fair to ask them for behavior advice, because it's kind of taking away from
so much
their
about
main expertise.
Multiple species.
They have already so much on their mind.
I just can't imagine being a veterinarian and having to understand all the stuff that they have to understand, and then understand the anatomy of multiple different species, and then on top of that expecting them to be experts in the behavior side of things too. Holy cow.
Dog, cat, and a bird, and a cow, and everything, right?
Like sheep, a capybara,
hamster,
fox.
So absolutely ask your veterinarian for referral to a trainer or behavior consultant. If you feel that the behavior is so great, veterinary behaviorist is an option. So these are the people who have the brain for everything, both the anatomy of different species and the behavior of different species. But ask for help is what I want to say, and ask for help from professionals. Whoever you hire, if at any point the advice that they're giving you is giving you a little bit of an ick, or you're feeling a little bit unsafe, that might be a little bit unsafe, or I'm not sure, this seems a little harsh, listen to your gut, go with someone else, or ask for explanation why. And if you still don't feel like this makes sense to me and this feels safe for my animals, then look for someone else.
I'll also add, be wary of people who offer guarantees, or they're really selling you on something, because I'm pretty upfront with people, even on my website, where I'm like, you're gonna have to put in work, I can help, and I don't have a magic wand. And there are people who try to come off like they have a, magical solution. If it seems too easy, you should be pretty sus about that. Yeah. Or if they say, I can guarantee it, because nobody can guarantee it. No matter how good they are. And actually, a sign of a really good professional is that they can say, I can't offer a guarantee that, you're going to get whatever result it is that you're hiring me for. What I can guarantee is that I will let you know if it seems like it's not going to work out, or if I am in over my head, I'll refer you to somebody else, or I will look up more information, or I will treat you with respect. I'll treat the animal with respect. It's better than someone who's like, oh, I can guarantee that we'll get the cat and dog to get along.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
No, behavior is unpredictable. Behavior depends on so many factors that we cannot control. I think especially in kind of, if someone tells you, I guarantee that I'm going to make it so your dog can live with your cat. No. Safety side, obviously, even with a small bite from a big dog, is a very big health hazard for a small cat. And as we said before, even a little swipe from a cat can be a very dangerous thing for a dog.
What should people do if it's really looking like things are not going to work out? I know earlier you mentioned the dog has a high prey drive, or there's a lack of bite inhibition, or the cat is, seeming a little shifty and you think that they're trying to defraud the dog and use them for some sort of pyramid scheme or smuggling pandas into the country or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I have a suspicion that Prozac is probably involved in some sort of international crime ring. I know he runs a cult. I also think he may be involved in
Doesn't it go together, like international fraud and cult and running a cult?
Yeah, those two, typically they're, oh my god, look at his tail, right? Okay, oh, he moved it. Yeah, those two tend to go hand in hand. But let's say that your cat is trying to convert your dog to a life of crime. What should people do in those situations?
Right, because it's easy to say rehome, right?
Yeah, it's not always that simple.
But it's not always that simple. Which is why I'm kind of, even though I'm saying it's really hard to predict which dog was going to live with a cat well, kind of safely. Doing some work beforehand can be helpful. But also, if you are adopting an animal from a shelter, see if they have a sleepover policy when you can just take the animal, whether you bring the dog or the cat into the house. You can bring your dog or a cat for kind of a little sleepover to see for a week or so to see how they go. Now, obviously, this sleepover period is usually the true behaviors are not manifest themselves, but if you see that in the sleepover period that the dog is already being very kind of predatory or displaying aggressive behaviors towards the cat, or if the cat is displaying aggressive behaviors towards the dog, you already know, right?
Yeah, you could pick out the obvious, really, this is just not gonna...
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, it was a sleepover. It was a trial period. There is less guilt, right? You didn't adopt the animal. And you take them out of the shelter environment for a week, and you already helping them because you help lower the stress hormones. The dogs and the cats usually kind of have like a chronic stress when they are sheltered. So just getting out for a week already helps them. So don't feel guilty, because just by taking them for that short period of time, you've helped them. Foster an animal. If you're thinking about it, right? You can always foster to adopt, but foster an animal so then, might stay with you for a longer period. You might have that longer period to see kind of for real behaviors to manifest, but you always have that option. If you're getting a dog or a cat from a breeder, ethical breeders, look for ethical breeders, because an ethical breeder, a good, proper breeder, will guarantee that they will take the animal back if the household doesn't work. So this is why ethical breeders are important, and buying from ethical breeders is important rather than next door or Facebook posts. Sometimes we will have to look for rehoming to family and friends. If everything else fails, we can live in house. This is the last option would be to live in house divided, because safety measures always fail, and especially if we have a dog who has strong predatory drive towards a cat. I would feel that no matter how many safety measures, how many barriers you have, there is always a chance that either the dog sneaks in or the cat sneaks out and you end up with a dead animal.
Yeah, it's like you have to jump through 14 hoops and enter a code, and there's a sphinx, not the cat, the sphinx, but the mythical creature that you have to solve a riddle. That's still not going to stop them all the time. Yeah. The dog might be really smart and be able to solve that riddle instantly, and then your final barrier is gone.
And also, the more humans are involved, the higher the risk. If you have children, and your risk is even higher. So let me tell you this story of kind of my kittens and my dog. And I had my kittens as the foster during the pandemic, 2 layers of safety, 3 layers of safety. As the kittens got older, it was a little bit better. My dog didn't try to eat them right away, but I still didn't feel like they were safe. But I was alone in the house because my husband was stuck overseas during the pandemic. When he got home, the first day he got home, he forgot to close one of the baby gates. So this is why you have 2 layers of safety, because he forgot to close the baby gate, but the door was closed. But this is the first day, because 2 people, double the risk.
Multiple chances for someone to screw up.
Yeah, exactly. So the house divided and living with safety protocols. This is a risky situation that might work in very, very specific cases. but then I'm also like thinking like the stress, the level of stress when you do live in house divided, which we both know, right? Because when we do the cat intro and cat to cat aggression, we have cats that are separated, and we have to keep cats separated, right, because they fight. That's very high stress for humans.
Yeah, it's hard on every species.
It's hard on everyone. I don't know. To sum up the answer to my question, do your homework, do your work before you introduce the animals, if you can. Because obviously things happen. The universal cat distribution system and stuff.
You never know.
You never know. Think ahead. Prep your house. Have a look at your house. Before you get the dog in or the cat in, think about where is going to be dog space, where is going to be the cat space. How will I keep them safe? Can I talk to the professional before you get the other animal? Not after.
Yeah, it's better to, especially with cats, not that it's not important with dogs, but with cats, because the environment that you set up for them is so critical to their overall well-being. You basically dictate their entire existence. Having that ready to go and knowing what you're doing ahead of time, it matters so much, and you are going to end up having to do so much less work in the long run if you prepare ahead. I have one final question for you. Are you ready for the single most important question of our entire talk? You're gonna have to think. It's very, very, very intense. You are gonna be like, wow, my mind is blown.
I'm scared.
You should be. Joe, are you more of a poutine or more of a Prozac?
See, this is a problem because my husband's Canadian.
But wait, we're not asking about your husband, though. This is about you.
I know.
So your husband might be more of a poutine.
He might be more of a poutine. I think I might be more Prozac.
Okay. Prozac, I mean, look at that sweet angel face back there.
I mean, you are covering him mostly, so I can't see him. Where his bat? Sweet little bat.
Yeah.
I think this is like the only context where I can say sweet little bat.
Other times, if you say that, it could be misinterpreted, or it could get you like
in trouble.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be a misdemeanor, depending. Get you an HR report. Prozac is a very good cat to be, so I think
Are you keeping logs of the poll and results?
I haven't done this yet. There's going to be a chart or poster that will be added soon once I'm done with my move. Joe, where can people find you? If people want to hear more from you, if people are like, I have cat-dog problem and they want some help, where are you located? Where should I send people and put links to in the description so then they can find more of you?
My business is called High Five Animal Training. And yes. And my website is highfiveanimaltraining.com.
Very creative.
I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, highfive.animaltraining. I work virtually, so all my cat consults are virtual, so it's open to everyone in the US, in the whole world. Yep, no service area in that. I also offer peer-to-peer consults, so if you're a dog trainer and you are working on dog-cat intros and you would like to just consult on the cat behavior because the cat is doing something that you might not understand, or you want to know better how to make cat's life better in this whole scenario and this whole setup, but cat behavior is not your specialty, it's not your expertise, then I am happy to connect with you and just work with you as a team. And if you then want to handle the dog side, I will either work with you with a client and we work together with a client, or I just kind of work with you and answer your questions. And for that, there are obviously like special rates for fellow professionals.
Which is super important, because recognizing when this is not your area is critical. I'm fine doing basic, here's how you click or train a dog to sit, but I do cats. Like, that's my area, and helpful for people.
It's fine to have to have expertise in one species, and it's like there's no shame in reaching out to your colleagues.
Yeah, it's a sign of a good professional. Well, thank you again for joining me, and hello.
His name was Igor.
I still haven't named my demonstration cat. I need to come up with a good name for them. Maybe if people have some ideas of, a good name, they can leave it in the comments. Just keep it classy, folks. Keep it classy. Oh, Joe, thank you so much for joining me, and we will see everyone next time.
Yeah, thank you, Joey, for having me.